Welcome to the NEC Caravan and Motorhome Show, October 2025, and we are back for another one of our legendary show tours. We're actually here on setup day before the show opens to the general public, so we're going to take you along for a little behind the scenes tour and show you the best of what's on offer in 2025. The NEC Caravan and Motorhome Show is an absolute mecca for caravanners, and people come from all over the UK because it's pretty much the only opportunity you get throughout the year to see all the new models in one place at once. So today we're going to be focusing primarily on the new British product that's available in 2026. And unfortunately, there's not too much in the way of non-white boxes here this year. So regular viewers of the channel, I'm afraid you'll be slightly disappointed, but there are one or two things along the way. So please do keep watching. But for now, we're going to crack on and show you some of the new, completely new caravans for 2026. In Hall 19, you'll find the Buccaneer stand, and for 2026 there's been quite a lot of changes to their lineup. Although the old model names still carry forward, they've had a bit of a redesign outside because there's now two spec levels. There's the top of the range Starliner, which has all the extras including the air conditioning and everything, and there's also the Skyliner, which is a bit of a joke entry-level Buccaneer. I can't call it that because it's still pretty much £46,000, which is a lot of money for a caravan. So let's have a look inside and see how the new Buccaneer stacks up. The external rebrand is mirrored with the interior, and they've moved away from this sort of mauvey purpley colours of recent years to this very sophisticated dark green with hints of grey and also the dark wood, which it looks very cohesive. It strangely looks very bright in here thanks to the light upholstery. It is very much a styling update inside. There's not really anything in the way of new kit or spec in the new Buccaneer models, but they've certainly completely rejigged their offering in terms of the colour palette, and I actually think it does look better for it. It looks very sophisticated. I love the colorways in here. There's quite a lot of textures going on though. We've got a different sort of a snakeskin wall cladding with this patterned backsplash, and then we've also got the marble effect countertops. Then you've got a different texture with the upholstery, which has a contrasting top, which is kind of like a white clean faux leather. It's probably not real leather, I don't think it is anyway. It's just, there's quite a lot going on in here for me, and I get that when it's a top of the range van you want it to be extra and over the top, and together it all sort of works, but I just think it needs a bit of an edit with some of the textures that are in here. But overall it's nice to see that they've done something with the flagship range and just moved it forward and modernized it a little bit. As we know, the grey and the green, very trendy colours, and Buccaneer are actually the only manufacturer that's gone down this route, which I'm a little bit surprised to see, if I'm honest. So yeah, if you're in Hall 19, do check out the new Buccaneer range. Over at the Irwin-Heimer Group in Hall 19 is probably one of the biggest new ranges for 2026, and that is the Whirlwind, and Elddis are tackling head-on a budget tourer, and this huge twin axle just tips the scales at £30,000, which I know you're watching this thinking that's a lot of money. That is quite cheap in comparative to the rest of the market for a twin axle. Doesn't have enormous standard specification. A couple of glaring omissions are side access lockers or a gas barbecue point, but you know, for the size of the van, it's an 8-foot wide body shell, and we've seen the body shell from the established Elddis Crusader and the Buccaneer filter down into this entry-level Whirlwind. So I've not actually been in it yet, so let's explore it together because I don't even know what the interior looks like. So let's have a look. Wow, the interior is beige and beiger. It is so beige that it might qualify for a help to buy scheme in a new build housing estate. It's you know, it's very neutral, it's very nice looking, does not set your heart racing, but again, it's a budget caravan. You know, you can't be too fussy, I guess, but apart from these scatter cushions that just add the only touch of colour in here, there's not much in the way of colour in this caravan whatsoever. But yeah, being objective, it certainly has a few nice details. We've got a really large fridge freezer, which is typically something that Elddis have always added into their twin axle offerings, and it's actually quite nicely finished off. I can't really find any gripes about the quality of it as such. It's got a good level of fit and finish, and actually compared to previous offerings from the Outtro group, they certainly seem to be trying to up the quality control when it comes to certainly how they're put together and assembled. I know that it was in the news last year or the year before that they had a new quality control plant at Outtro group, and to be honest with you, all jokes aside about this being absolute Beigeddon in here, it is a nicely put together van, and certainly, you know, it's an interesting price point on the market because there's not a lot of models available that are twin axle, 8 foot wide, around £30,000. They tend to be more 35,000 plus. So correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the cheapest twin axle 8 foot wide tourer on the market in the UK. And hey, if you like beige, this is the caravan for you. Continuing the changes with the Outtro group, we've got the new Avante Apex, and this is kind of a mid-market tourer. The Apex spec is usually associated with the motorhome side of the Outtro group offerings. It just adds in a few bits of extra kit, such as a bike rack, Alco spare wheel lock, the gas barbecue point, and the Wi-Fi as well. So it's actually a fairly decent spec van for the price, and outside it's got the body shell that's filtered down from the Buccaneer and the Elddis Crusader range, but inside it's quite a striking colour choice, certainly for the upholstery. I don't think I've ever seen a caravan with black upholstery before, and to be honest, I don't really know what to make of it. It's very inoffensive, the interior of the Avante Apex. It's very beige, quite new home kind of vibes. Being careful with how I'm describing it here. And the black is certainly a choice. Don't know how well it would stand up if you've got pets and things, because it's quite a tactile upholstery, and then we've got the return of the pleather on top. Overall, I don't think I like the upholstery, but you know, I'm glad that Elddis have invested in their mid-range offering and made it something just a little bit more interesting. And probably the bigger talking point with the Avante Apex is the spec that it's got. As I mentioned, there's quite a lot included with that standard specification. So do check them out. There are various new models available, but they are a continuation of the previous year's Affinity layouts. So although the body shell is different, the layouts have remained identical from what I can tell. There was no new model as such. So yeah, it just sits as a mid-range van. It's worth checking out, but it's certainly not going to set you pulse racing, I'm afraid. Over on the Coachman stand in Hall 19, and the big news this year is the Laser range has received a bit of a styling update, but there is actually one brand new model, and it's this, the two-berth Laser 480, because this looks like a two-berth and might look like a normal caravan, but it's the first 8 foot wide two-berth tourer that's ever been brought to market. Certainly in the UK, to my knowledge, possibly even Europe. Why do you need 8 foot wide body shell for a two-berth? I don't know. I mean, I'm prepared to have my mind changed. Let's take a look and see if those extra 6 inches on the width is really worth it. Okay, I've got to eat my words. This feels enormous. I feel like I could do the opening scene of The Sound of Music in here. It is huge. And actually for a two-berth, I know it's only for a couple of people, but it feels very opulent. And I guess although it's 8 foot wide, it's not a very long caravan. It's only 4.8 meters long. So don't want to call it compact because it's 8 foot wide, but if you want to experience the opulence of the 8 foot wide body shell, then this is certainly worth it. And absolutely do check it out because it's not really like anything I've seen. And one of the style updates for the Laser for 2026 is the high-end upholstery has come out of the old Lusso model into the new Laser. I love this kind of duck egg upholstery. It's very, very contemporary, and it is beautifully made. And that's kind of the vibe of Coachman in general. They are very, very, very well made caravans. But the 8 foot wide body shell in the 2 berth is certainly a new one on me. And not only does it allow the extra width for the walk space in the middle, it also allows a slightly bigger kitchen. So we've got this very slight L shape on the kitchen area, which does actually make quite a big difference to the usable space. And I think the party trick of the Laser, which I do quite like, is this pull-out rack, which again, everything you touch in the Coachman feels very substantial, feels very well made, and does feel like it's built to last. So, you know, this to me is as conventional as a caravan gets, but I've got to admit, it's beautifully made, it's beautifully styled, it feels very opulent, and it feels like something that you could have a very indulgent escape in. At the top end of the Laser range, we have the huge 855 Extra, which immediately my attention is drawn to the fact that there is only one tiny opening window in the whole side panel of this massive caravan. That's because it's got quite an unusual layout, so let's go explore it. From the L shape at the front through to the midship caravan kitchen and all the way at the back here, we've got a rear transverse island bedroom, and this layout is becoming more popular, certainly with high-end caravans, but it's hiding the fact that if you like TV, this is really the caravan for you, because there's no window in the bedroom on this side because you've got an entire wall to go at to hang a huge TV, quite frankly. So yeah, if you're the sort that likes to go away and catch up with all the soaps and everything, I think I found the caravan for you. But again, like the Laser 2 berth that we've just looked at, it feels really luxurious. It feels very, very opulent, and it feels like a boutique hotel. And I know I keep saying that, but it's the only way I can really describe it. It feels special to be in here. It feels like you're going away on holiday and it's a bit of an event, and I really commend Coachman for their very careful choice of interior decor. At the top of the tree we have the Coachman Lusso II. This is the most expensive caravan on the market by a British manufacturer at the moment, and the Lusso II has been strangely hugely popular despite its near £54,000 price tag. Wow. But you do get a lot of kit for your money, and I'm told for 2026 there's been a bit of a styling update inside, and outside it looks like a very conventional caravan to me, but I'm told the interior is really where it's at, so let's go take a closer look. Oh my god. This is like a luxury boutique hotel on wheels. I mean, I've been in the previous Coachman Lusso II, but wow. I mean, look at the paneling on the walls. Look at the new cupboards. It's... I could live in this. It's absolutely amazing. And I guess looks can be a bit deceiving because outside I wasn't really getting the vibe that this was a £54,000 caravan, but in here, wow, it is absolutely amazing. From these really thick worktops, they're is it called Corian or something? It's kind of, it's probably not that because that's very heavy, but that's what it looks like at least. And this huge inset piece for the sink. I mean, look how thick that is. It's just amazing. I'm not going to lie, if you're coming to the show this week, do check this out because it's like no other caravan you'll see. It is amazing. Love the bedroom, love all the space it's got. They've used the trick of taking the wardrobes out from either side of the bed, which I'm a really big fan of. Just it makes it feel so much more spacious and homely. And the bit that you can't tell on camera is, as I'm walking up and down, the carpet feels so spongy. It feels like you're just falling into it. It's so luxurious, and it needs to be for what it costs, but I'm really beginning to see the justification in this cost, because this caravan is really something special. At the front end of the Lusso II, we've got this L shape, and strangely, unlike every other L shape at the moment, we don't have a media wall, and I have to say, I love that. I do quite like the media wall, and I like the sort of the focus on the TV, but Coachman at least give you the option of you can still have the window to look out. And it's only now I've sat in a model with the L shape, with the window, that I kind of think that it's missing in some of the other caravans that we've seen. But this is just, oh. I certainly can see why people like these so much. It's just so comfortable, cozy. It feels like you just cocooned in this luxurious caravan that to me is akin to a luxury hotel escape. This is so far from my regular ideals of caravanning. It's crazy, but I can appreciate it and totally understand why people would love it. So we have snuck in to film a few caravans for you, but they are now about to lay the main carpets ready for the doors to open to the general public tomorrow. So amongst all the chaos, we're going to call it a day and pick up all of the show tour in the morning. It's the calm before the storm. We're here a couple of hours before the first day of the NEC Caravan and Motorhome show, and we've come in for good reason to have a look around the caravans before all the public gets in here. So this really is an exclusive first look. But probably more importantly, I got up early for this, and I'm not a morning person, so the least you can do is like the video and subscribe to the channel as a thank you for making me get up this early. So we're going to start today in Hall 6, and where better to start than with Swift, because they've got quite a few changes for 2026. So let's go take a closer look. The biggest news for 2026 on the Swift stand is the completely revamped Sprite range. Now, as you know, I love my Sprite caravans, but mainly the really old ones. But the Sprite range still represents that same entry point to the market. It's good value, they're supposed to be funky, stylish, and very modern. And for 2026, Swift have completely redesigned the Sprite range. And it's an interesting point because in response to market pressures and people really highlighting that the caravanning has got very expensive, they've decided to go right back to basics with the new Sprite range. And I've not had a good look yet, and I'm a bit worried it might look a bit cheap. So let's have an explore together, because there's quite a few new features for 2026 that aren't necessarily new features in terms of additions, but more subtractions. First thing I noticed on the outside is that it doesn't actually come with a stabilizer hitch as standard. And you might look at that and think that's unnecessary penny pinching, but if the caravan's loaded properly and if it's all set up behind its appropriate tow car, I don't see an issue with that at all. And that actually saves several £100s off the cost of the caravan, which, by the way, for this fixed bed model is £20,995, which actually makes it the cheapest 4-berth that's built in the UK, which I think is certainly a good discussion point as to why you should take a look at this caravan. But outside, apart from the hitch, there's nothing immediately obvious that they've tried to reduce the cost of. You've got to really look closely before you realise that it doesn't come with an Alco secure wheel lock receiver, and there is no TV aerial on the roof, and there's no extras like solar or gas barbecue point, but there wasn't on the existing Sprite models anyway. But I've got to be honest, apart from that, if you didn't know, I don't think you would think that this was the cheapest caravan built in the UK, because it looks so stylish. It's got these soft grey sides, these smart new black graphics, and they've kept the alloy wheels, and most importantly as well, it still has the panoramic window at the front. So I've got to say, outside so far I'm quite impressed, but the interior is where we're going to really see, have they cheapened it down too much, or does it still represent really good value for money? Well, first impressions, and I have to say I'm actually really impressed. Just to put this model into context, it is slightly cheaper than the Bailey Discovery. It's quite a lot cheaper than the Bailey Discovery D44, which is their fixed bed model. It's also almost the same price, slightly less than the Xplore XC range. Certainly if you were putting this against the XC Quad, which is their fixed bed equivalent, which isn't a fair comparison because the XC Quad is a transverse island bed, whereas this is a corner French bed. It's a very compact caravan, this Sprite Alpine, but it's nearly £5,000 less. And I know the Xplore has tons of kit and spec, but actually as a caravan to sit in, aesthetically, it's really, really nice. I'm glad that they stuck with curtains, because these curtains are actually some of the nicest curtains I've seen at the show. They're very contemporary. It's very sort of Scandi vibes in here, without being an assault of beige. That's no shade to any of the other manufacturers. We've got this lovely sort of speckled upholstery, which is very similar to what we saw in the high-end Coachman yesterday, and it actually feels really good quality and feels very comfortable to sit on. And elsewhere you do have obviously quite a lot of white and bits of beige, but it's contrasted with the dark units down below, sort of at low level, the bottom of the bed, the lower parts of the bedroom area, and all this dark colour to sort of just soften the beigeness in here. And actually the overall result is, I cannot believe that this is the cheapest British built van on the market, because it just doesn't look it. And even the giant panoramic roof, which if you know the history of Swift, the cheaper models rarely got these, or at least they were an optional extra. So, you know, I think they've really done a great job of making this look more expensive than it is. If we move backwards into the kitchen, it's got provisions for everything really. You still got a standard Dometic 3-way fridge. We've got a little compact Thetford combination oven and grill with 3 burners. But you know, it's everything you need. And even in this basic caravan, you've got quite a fancy big chrome tap. It just doesn't look basic to me. I know our caravan is 60 years old, so it is basic. But if you didn't tell me that this caravan was the cheapest caravan built in the UK, I wouldn't guess it. Even with the ambient lighting and things, they've done a really good job. And obviously back here we've got the fixed bed, which is a French style bed, as it's known in the trade. I've got to be honest, not a massive fan of the French bed, but actually this caravan isn't even 5 meters long. I'll put the exact length in the screen because I'm not I'm not anal enough about caravans to know all these figures straight off the top of my head. But it's a compact fixed bed caravan, so it's going to be easy to tow, easier to store, a bit easier to deal with when you're pitching up and everything. But yeah, but the Sprite Alpine 4 has been a staple of the Swift offering for many, many years. But the big news is Swift have the only brand new layout at the show this year for a caravan manufacturer, and it's a variant of the Sprite Alpine called the DB. So let's go explore it. The Alpine 4 DB shares the same body shell with the Alpine with the fixed bed, and these are some of the ways in which manufacturers can cleverly save costs by not producing 2 body shells. They also share the same kitchen unit as well. It all helps keep the cost down, but you as the consumer wouldn't really notice that. So it's clever how they've re-engineered that to offer a completely different model, because unlike the fixed bed model, this is a model that's a little bit more suited to families, because it now incorporates a dinette at the back. So yeah, I've not actually been inside it yet, so I'm excited to see what it looks like. So the front end, the kitchen, the wardrobe, etc. is pretty much identical to the Alpine with the fixed bed. But then back here is where it all changes. We've got this little dinette area that has a bunk bed which folds out of here. We'll come to about here. So it is actually a 4-berth, and I actually like this, the whole setup, because if you imagine you're a family of 4, you know, you've got parents at the front, kids at the back, they've kind of got their own space back here. It's almost like their own little den at the back of the caravan, and you can put them to bed. and parents can still sit at the front and stay up for a few more hours before they go to bed themselves. So as a practical family caravan, it's certainly ticking a lot of boxes. It is slightly more expensive than the Alpine, but not by much. There's just less than £500 difference between them. So it's still £21,500, which I think is excellent value for money for this model. I'll be honest, it kind of reminds me of the old Musketeer that Sprite used to offer from around about 2008, 2009 onwards, and it was dropped a few years ago. That had a double bed at the back that folded out of the dinette and a really compact corner washroom. But the new Alpine DB is hiding a much better washroom setup, especially for a family, because we've actually now got proper washroom space that has a separate shower, so you don't have to get the toilet and everything wet every time you use the shower. And you know, if you're getting the kids ready for bed, you can sort them out in here without making a mess of the caravan with the towels and everything. It's a nice contained family sized washroom in what is a caravan that's still less than 5 meters long, so it's really compact. I'm really impressed by this, and I know there's going to be criticisms, and there always is, and invariably they'll all be in the comments below, but you've just got to keep remembering this is one of the cheapest 4-berth caravans that you can buy today. And to me, I would be quite proud to buy this and tow it onto site and not feel like I have a cheap caravan. They've certainly done a really good job of editing what they can to keep the price down, but also just offering great value for money. Of course, on the Swift stand you'll find the Basecamp. Now, I'm very biased because I absolutely love this little caravan. Sadly for 2026 there's only the Basecamp 2 on offer from Swift, because the Basecamp 3 and 4 have been dropped. It's still a great model. We're not going to look at it in this tour because I have covered this caravan and indeed the whole Basecamp range so many times on this channel. So I'm going to pop a link to the video above that shows the full Basecamp range from last year, because there's been no changes into 2026. But you've got to check this out. It's such a funky, cool, cute little caravan. The other news for 2026 is the return of the Swift Conqueror. The Conqueror, as you may know if you've been following the Swift story, was their high-end, if not top-end offering. They still have the elegance sat at the top, and the Conqueror now sits where the Challenger was last year. It's had a complete refresh inside and out, and I think it looks really smart outside. The interior is really something quite special. Let's take a closer look at this 650L Grande model. We seem to be spotting a lot of L shapes this year. They seem to have really taken over the market, particularly in the 8-foot wide models. I'm quite a fan of the L shape. I think it's a very sociable lounge and gives a huge floor space. I know you've lost the chest of drawers that you would normally have in the bench seat style layout, which is more conventional, and you do have to make sure that you get the table out every time you want to sit and eat, whereas obviously the little chest of drawers has the tabletop that slides out. But to be honest, I think it's a sacrifice that I'd be willing to make just for the space and the comfort of being able to sit here and watch TV kind of like you would at home, I guess. Listen, I've been corrupted, haven't I? I've just said I would like to sit here and watch TV, and this is me who proudly boasts that we don't have a TV in our caravan. This is the effect the show has on you. But the new Conqueror is absolutely beautiful inside. It feels really well made, really substantial, and if I show you into the kitchen area, it just feels so plush. It's got these beautiful thick worktops, similar to what we've seen in the Coachman, and we've got this slide out unit here, which again just elevates the practicality of these models. One of the design details that I do love that Swift are the only manufacturer to incorporate this, only British one anyway, is the stone effect in the shower. It just looks so natural and actually looks quite convincingly real. And they've actually put this unit in to give it a bit of style and flair, but it actually serves a dual purpose as being somewhere where you can store your shampoo, conditioner, etc. And I just think it elevates the shower space. So many caravans just have a perfectly white clad shower space, which, okay, it looks very clean, but it just looks a bit boring. So I like how Swift have experimented with texture in the shower area, just to bring it to life a little bit and make it a bit more like a bathroom that you'd expect if you're having your bathroom remodeled at home. I don't know anyone who's got an all white bathroom at home, so it's certainly a nice little design detail. At the back end of the 650L, we've got the transverse island bed, and this is king size. Now, this is something you've got to be careful with because some of the higher spec vans on the market at the moment don't have a king size double bed. To me, that's a given. If you're spending nearly £50,000 on a caravan, you need a king size bed in it. So we've got that in the Swift. We've got the dual wardrobes either side. It feels like a really big space in here, and it feels very cozy. They seem to have gone a long way with the lighting across the industry in general in recent years. And Swift are probably one of the market leaders with that, with the basis that their lights are dimmable in most cases. On a switch on the wall, are you listening, Bailey? You don't need a remote control to turn them off or on. And it just, to me, feels like a really cozy place to be. Continuing with our show tour, and do not miss Adria. They are right at the back of Hall 6, so if you're walking through the main walkways, it could be quite easy to miss them. And they've bought a fantastic selection of their real high quality caravans, and they definitely deserve a closer look because they are just fabulous. They regularly win lots of prizes for them at various awards schemes run in the industry, and they usually top owner satisfaction surveys as well with their amazing build quality. They are actually built in Slovenia, and they've recently celebrated their 60th anniversary in business. And when you take a closer look at these vans, it's not hard to see why, because from front to back they are absolutely stunning. So we're going to take a quick look at the Altea Avon, which is their family offering, and it is just a shade over £29,000, which, you know, is a lot of money for a caravan, don't get me wrong, but it actually puts it in direct competition with things like the new Bailey Pegasus Black Edition, and also the mid-range offering 6 berths from Irwin-Hymer Group UK, so like the Elddis Whirlwind and the Avante Apex. How great is this for a family? Officially it's a 5 berth. I think it might actually be optional 6 with this bunk as well. But it's a huge single axle caravan, and you've obviously got the triple bunks for the kids here. There's bunk guards on this one, there's a bunk guard for this one as well, and the clever thing about the bottom one is it actually hinges upwards because there's an external locker outside, so you can use this as extra storage space for things like your camping chairs and things. And this is a theme that you'll see with Adria caravans. They are so well thought out and so practical, and one of my favorite features of all of them is the kitchen, which in the Altea range you get this gorgeous terrazzo effect worktop, complete with a worktop extension supplied as standard. And I just love this cooker and sink fitting. That's just a beautiful 3-burner hob that you can easily clean into the sink area, and it's set right at the back of the worktop so that kids pushing by aren't going to be knocking pans off, and you get extra worktop space as well. I'm a bit sad they've not put them in because I guess they probably go walkabout at the show, but Adria have this clever adaptable system of storage with little pots and things that hang off here, so your washing up sponge, your washing up liquid, etc. can be stored up off the worktop to keep the space clear. And it's just this kind of practical design that really just exemplifies why Adria are so successful, and just brilliant, and the quality of it all is absolutely stunning. We'll do that again. Such good quality. I was expecting the catch to be just a flimsy piece of plastic, and it's like this really tough metal catch that wants adjusting, I think. Forget I said anything. Obviously, being a family van, we've got a lovely big tall fridge, but for me the main selling point is this huge U-shaped front lounge, which you've got to think, you're expecting a family to sit here. You've got a nice big table that will go in the middle that stores in the wardrobe, and you've got tons of space to spread out in here. And it's a really cozy vibe thanks to these textured grey wall panels that look like felt, but they are actually just a wall panel. And everything from the curtains that just soften it a bit to these clever little pockets and storage solutions that are tucked everywhere. Adria for me are just some of the best designed vans on the market. But as I said at the start, this is the mid-range offering, so let's jump to the high-end offering, the Alpina Rio Grande, because it's like nothing else you will ever see. I know yesterday we looked at the £54,000 Coachman Lusso II, which I described as an apartment on wheels, but Adria certainly give them a run for their money for £10,000 less. The Alpina is their flagship range, and this Rio Grande is a really unique layout on the market with this front end kitchen. How posh does this look? It looks incredible. We've got the same fitting that we just saw on the Altea, but the cabinetry is this lovely dark walnut effect, which it just looks fabulous. We've still got the big fridge, tons of storage throughout, and it's all soft shut, of course. But I said apartment on wheels, and I'm delivering, because look at this lounge space. It's absolutely incredible. It's a really sociable layout, and I know that loads of people will say, oh, I like to sit at the front and look out the window and everything, but honestly, if you want to just go away in peace and private and have a comfortable space to sit, relax and lounge, this Caravan is absolutely stunning. I just love it. And this Alpina Rio Grande has been a model that's been in existence for quite some years now, and it's just evolved stylistically over the years, but the bones of the layout and everything has remained the same. So clearly there's a good market for this, and I think just not enough people know about it. It's a fabulous alternative to a conventional Caravan, and as usual, being an Adria, it's beautifully made. Moving into the bedroom, you've got a fixed bed, and the only slight drawback of this model is it doesn't move back against the wall, but we are in an 8-foot wide body shell, so you can still get around the bottom just fine. But this space is like some kind of boutique hotel. It's just fabulous. To me, this doesn't feel like a Caravan. It's just so elevated in its design and its style, and it's just over £43,000. Yes, it is a very expensive Caravan, but when you look at some of the British offerings that are £10,000 more, I definitely think this is one that you should check out and consider. Tucked away in the corner of Hall 20, you'll find the Xplore stand. Now, there's been no changes for 2026, so we're not going to look too in depth at these models. Besides, last year we did a dedicated video on these, so I'll pop a link to that above. But we have the favourites. We've got the smallest XC Lite, which is the old Xplore 304. Which of course has had a really big revamp as part of this Xplore relaunch last year. So it kind of makes sense that they're not changing it. Although at the show in particular, if you buy before, I think it's the 18th of October, you do get a free motor mover with these vans, making them one of the most well-equipped offerings on the market at the moment. I mean, this Caravan here is £21,999, and you get the Alco spare wheel lock, you get an alarm, you get a tracker, you get the Wi-Fi on the roof, there's a cycle rack on the back, there's a microwave, barbecue point, there's an external power point in the side locker. It has a truly impressive specification for the price, so really do check these out. I know the body shell is now looking a little bit old-fashioned, but I promise you they're really well made Caravans, and particularly the XC Lite is the favourite in the range. And actually the XC Duo that we have back here is what is quite a rare two-berth layout. There's only Swift that offer a version of this, but in a much more compact shell. So if you're looking for a small two-berth with a really decent kitchen and a nice washroom with a separate shower, have a look at the Xplore XC Duo. Tucked away in the corner of Hall 20 is something that's putting us right back on brand for Not Another White Box, because it's the Eriba touring range. Obviously, massive fans of these, absolutely love them, and they've done really, really well at the Caravan and Motorhome Club Design Awards, which isn't surprising given how good the design is. But the winner of the category for the pop tops was this, the Eriba Touring 540. And it's just an evergreen, popular, compact Eriba model. And when you look at these in person, the quality of them is so stunning. And you can see why the design hasn't needed to change for so long, because it's just so perfect. And actually, as we were touring Europe last year, Eribas were the most common caravan that we saw on the road. Apart from the issues with the headroom, if you're quite a tall person, which obviously the pop top bit is fine, they are just so easy to tow. They're economical to tow. They're really lightweight. They're really, really exceptionally well built. And actually, they have always been quite an expensive product. But as the price of the rest of the market has risen, Eriba has stayed pretty similar. So you end up with even better value than ever before versus the competition. And if you can't tell, I absolutely love these caravans. Let's take a quick look inside the 540. I just love Eribas. They're so different and quirky and cool, and the standard of finish in them is absolutely exceptional. In the 540, we've got this little dinette area at the front, which, yeah, okay, you can see the headroom thing in parts of the Eriba design, but it's just so cute and cozy, and it does feel like a lovely place to sit. It feels very homely. The wood feels very warm. The finish, it's kind of got this copper finish to the worktops and things that just softens everything about the caravan design. Yeah, these are beautiful caravans, but they are tucked right at the back of Hall 20. So do make the effort to go see them if you're at the show, because they're just fabulous. In Hall 19, you'll find the Bailey stand, and as usual, it's one of the biggest manufacturer stands at the show. And of course, they've pulled out the stops this year with all the various interactive displays and things. It really is a really welcoming space, and there's certainly a lot to see here. But probably the top of people's list is to look at the new Phoenix and Pegasus Black Editions. And I've singled out the 640, which is one of the best-selling models in the range, because for 2026, it's had a complete design overhaul. New body shell, new exterior graphics, new interior furniture, redesigned layouts, retweaked details and things. This is a completely new range for 2026, replacing the old Phoenix GT75, retaining all those popular layouts that we know and love, although the 762 twin axle 6-berth layout has been dropped for 2026. But these caravans still represent excellent value for money, as I'm sure you'll see when we go inside. I just love the styling update of this. It feels really fresh and modern, and for a mid-range tourer, it is a really, really, really nice overhaul. We've got this completely new front end, which filters down from the previous Alicanto and Unicorn range. So we've got an even bigger infinity window than before, and the curved front end is a much softer appearance from the front of the caravan than the previous Phoenix GT75. I just really love the styling update in here. It's probably not what I would have chosen. It's very monochromatic, but I suppose that's the theme, the black edition. But it just looks really modern and really fresh, and there's nothing really quite like it on the market. And I love in recent years how much more confidence Bailey have gained with pushing the interior design to the limit. And I've got to show you the feature in the washroom because it's unique to the 640, and I think it's absolutely fabulous. One of the biggest problems with the rear fixed island bed layout from any manufacturer is squeezing past the bed and the washroom area. Once this bed is slid forward, you can end up with not much of a gap. So for 2026 in the Bailey Phoenix, they've taken this wall in. But I hear what you're saying, why would they take space out of the washroom? Well, the answer is they haven't. It's got this new clever mechanism on the ceiling, which allows the entire wall to move out to make the washroom space bigger when in use, and then when the door's closed off, it opens it up. This is the kind of innovation that I want to see in caravanning. These are the details that we as caravanners need to make us feel more infused and inspired to buy the new products. And so far, I know we've looked at the really cheap and cheerful Sprite, which, you know, great, does its own thing. And we've looked at some of the high-end offerings from people like Buccaneer and Coachman. I want to see the innovation. I want to see the design move forward. And this, I know it's a small detail, but it shows that Bailey have really thought about it. And it'd be interesting to see how well this stands up to a week of people moving it to and fro. But I know that Bailey have tested it quite a lot because they are one of the only manufacturers and the only British manufacturer that genuinely does embark on an extensive research and development campaign for all their new tourers. So I know that they have already tested this feature. but it'd be interesting to see how it stacks up in the real world, because I think it's a fabulous design detail. Bailey do spend a lot of time tweaking the kitchen designs. It's the one thing that we see evolves most years in the various products as they get the facelifts and things. And for 2026, that's no exception with the Black Edition Phoenix. And we've gone from the white units that we had in the GT75 to now we've brought the wood grain back. So it's flipped the other way. And the Black Edition accents, such as the handles, the catches, and this new tap, just help emphasize the design theme of this caravan. I particularly like the large drawer here with a sliding cutlery tray that allows for access underneath. That's been a clever multifunctional design. And you might be wondering why that drawer isn't very deep, and that's because the gas bottles for the Bailey Phoenix are actually stored behind here that you can only access from the outside. So the result is we actually have a really deep kitchen unit with lots of workspace, and again they've engineered as much space out of it as they can, even including the worktop extension as standard now, which in the previous models it was an optional extra. I know it was because pretty much everyone who bought one ordered one. So it's nice to see that included as standard. Bailey listening to consumer feedback there. We also get the microwave as standard, which is a plateless one, so you don't have to remember to take the glass plate out before traveling. And I love the backsplash. I love the backsplash in here that hides the blind unit in the wall. It just looks modern, it looks smart. And if you didn't have enough space on this side, on the opposite side where we'll find the Dometic fridge down below like so, we've got this extra bit of worktop here. And previously, if you're familiar with the Bailey Phoenix, they had this sort of station for putting the Sonos speaker, which still comes with the Caravan by the way, but it was a bit style over substance. It took away from the worktop area, so they've got rid of that this year, replaced it with a very handy little shelf. We've got more handy shelves up here and this extra little cupboard and a soft shut as well. Wow. So they're really thinking about the small details, which is nice to see as usual. And I have to say the fit and finish does feel very good in here. Moving to the other side of the Bailey stand, you'll find the new Pegasus Black Edition, and as you're spotting the theme here, they've applied the same theme to both ranges. Pegasus is obviously the 8-foot wide version of the Phoenix, generally speaking, but one of my favorite models is the Brindisi because it's quite a unique offering from Bailey, and again it's another L shape. For 2026, they've made a lot of changes to the Brindisi model. If you saw the old model last year, it had a media wall here with a TV and a perfect L shape. For 2026, they've extended it more into this U shape here, which actually makes it a little bit more practical. I quite like having the window back in the lounge. We saw that in the Coachman Lusso. You've got a good compromise here of enough space to put the TV and the small window to let some light in. But actually the Black Edition facelift in here looks incredible. I love this is the standard upholstery. There is an optional upholstery in both ranges, but in the Pegasus in particular, it has a very big contrasting black upholstery, which in fact we'll try and find it somewhere because it's quite unusual. But we've got the padded curtain panels instead of actual curtains, just softening up the interior a little bit. And I have to say, I actually really like it. It's a really nice front end, very unique on the market for having this sort of U-shape arrangement with the media center in the corner. Also new in the Pegasus Brindisi this year, and they've extended the kitchen into the L shape, making the most of this 8-foot wide body shell. Love the L-shaped kitchen. It's really practical. You end up with a lot of extra worktop space and an extra set of cupboards. And one of the things that I really appreciate is Bailey's eye for detail with some of their practical extras. Look, towel hooks. You'd be amazed. I don't think I've been in a single caravan at the show that's got towel hooks in the kitchen area. It's just little things like this that make Bailey caravans really practical. It shows that they do actually do their research and development and a lot of product testing as well. and a lot of their findings you can see have been implemented in this model. Like we just saw in the Phoenix 640, that old-fashioned, I say old-fashioned, it's only last year's model, the little media console or whatever it was they called it, where the Sonos speaker sat, that's gone. So we've got a bit more worktop space. We've still got the mains electric point here though. So this is actually quite a practical space. If you've got like an air fryer or a coffee machine or something, you can just put it up here above the fridge, out the way of the kitchen, but easily accessible. Moving through into the bedroom, again, it's had a really great overhaul in here. And my favorite thing that Bailey do, and I think they're the only, well, I know for a fact, this is the only mid-range offering in the UK that has the king size beds. So usually this is the reserve of caravans that are 45, 50,000 pounds. Bailey obviously have it in all the Alicanto, the Unicorn, and now in the Pegasus range too, which they've had for a couple of years in the Pegasus range actually. But the news for 2026 is they've taken the wardrobes out from either side of the bed, which was previously only done in the twin axle Bologna, which was the same layout as this but longer. So to see that in the Brindisi just makes this space feel so much bigger, and the wardrobe's now moved to the bottom of the bed here. And again, still a very practical space. Needs some oil on those hinges, but it's just brilliant. And I love the sliding pocket door as well into the washroom. And actually, as a mid-range offering, this caravan is really stylish, really modern, and Bailey should be really patting themselves on the back with the new black editions, because I think they're going to be really popular. Tucked in the corner of the Bailey stand, you'll find the Pegasus Black Edition Amalfi, which is the 6-berth model, and that is demonstrating the optional upholstery for the Pegasus range. And I just wanted to show you this because it's quite rare that manufacturers offer a different upholstery scheme now. Usually it's the same kind of variant or different kind of grey. Bailey have actually gone for a really big contrast with this, with the black and the cream. And do you know what? I know we've just looked at the Elddis Avante Apex that has the black upholstery. This actually really works in this caravan. It's really trendy. It looks really smart, and it's aqua clean upholstery as well, so it's completely stain resistant. And I think that's quite important if you've got a family caravan. But yeah, I actually really like it, and it's really comfortable as well. It's really soft material. I think this might definitely be worth the upgrade if you're thinking about it, although I don't think these panels particularly hew in very well, but I do absolutely love this. I think it's a really nice alternative to the standard upholstery. Over in Hall 17, you'll find the Knaus stand, and of course we can't stop on a Not Another White Box tour without having a quick look at one of my favourites. This is the Tab 320 Metropolis. And as you can probably gather, there's been absolutely no changes to this model for 2026, but it's still worth having a look at because it's so cute. There's so much space inside for 2 people. This whole area makes into a bed, but it really is a very slight step up from camping. It's a really basic vehicle, but it just has everything you need. It's really lightweight, it's really well built. We've got a cooker, a sink, a fridge, and you can spec them up with extras such as heating, a portable toilet, etc. So yeah, still a big fan of the Tab, and we won't spend too long looking at them because we have actually taken the 400 Metropolis away, and I'll pop a link to that video above if you want an in-depth tour of that one. Another feature of the Knaus stand is the Yaseo 340, and we've actually looked at this caravan before in depth, so rather than show you it again because it hasn't actually changed for 2026, I'm going to pop a link to that video above. Of course, one of the favourites is the Knaus Sport and Fun, and this is a caravan that we love on this channel because it's just so cool. It first hit the market in the 1990s, and the actual shape and style of it outside hasn't really changed much in all that time. But the interior now is as fresh and as modern as it's ever been. And in here, you'll find a fixed bed at the front, which is above the front garage area. And you've got this big generous seating area here. Lovely big galley kitchen here as well. We've got the washroom at the back that has the slide out shower tray, which is always a quirky piece of design detail. And then we've got this massive door out the back, because this is designed to be able to put a motorbike or bikes through the back with the extra width door. But of course, if you're not the hardy adventurous type, you could just use it as a second door, and it makes this caravan feel really spacious. So if you're at the show this week, have a look on the Knaus stand, because I love the sport and fun. Sadly, we've reached the end of our tour of the NEC Caravan and Motorhome show in October 2025. Let me know in the comments which caravans were your favourites, and let me know which ones you could give design feedback on. Obviously, on my channel, I love talking about all things caravan design, and if you want to join in that conversation too, do join the Not Another White Box Facebook group, a link to which is in the description below. But I hope you've enjoyed taking a look around some new caravans with me. I know it's a bit different for my channel. Tried to include some cool, quirky and unusual ones along the way, but there's just not been that many here at the show this year. So let me know what you think, and if you've been to the show this week, give me your feedback in the comments below. Please do give the video a like, and remember to subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out. But in the meantime, all that's left to say is thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.